This tutorial is going to be about how to create the light. So we have here on our right panel, we have our geometry, our shapes, and the third option would be our lights. Okay, and by default it comes in this photometric from Studio Max, and we have to go in the drop-down menu to V-Ray. And we have other options, but we are going to select the V-Ray light for now. And it comes by default on the plane type. So if I just click here and drag, it's going to create a plane. I'm going to move it up. Okay, and if I just press right now on render, it's actually going to render completely white. Right now it's in the production mode, and I'm using right now V-Ray 3.5. So if I click here, it's going to create the iterative rendering. Okay, so actually if you have V-Ray 3.4, you can update it now to the 3.5 version. So by default, this light is too strong. I'm going to click here to go into its properties. Okay, and it's always coming in 30, so I'm going to put it about 2. That's a good value to start with. Okay, and I can already see a more reasonable light there. So as you saw, the multiplier is the intensity of my light. I can also just change in which units I'm going to use it. So if you actually know these units and you've worked with that before, it might be better for you. I can change the size of my light with these values here. Okay, you could also scale it. So let's say I just scale it this way. It's also going to change my light, but then the values are not going to change. So I actually usually rather just work with the values to make it precise. And as you can see now, the light is blocking right now my plane. Okay, so I'm going to rotate the light a little bit so that we can see it there. Also because I usually don't use a light. Also because usually the setup of a light is not going to work with the light completely from the top. There are particular setups for that, but I'm not going to use it in this case. So right now we can clearly observe that the light is plane. And if I go to the types, I have, for example, the disk. Okay, I have, for example, another option would be the mesh. Okay, and this becomes a dummy, and I pick a mesh. So I go down here to mesh light, pick a mesh, and I can pick this cube as the mesh. Okay, I'm going to go back just to take it where I was. I could also pick a sphere, and it's going to take a very big sphere, and I can go to the radius and make it small. So the sphere is useful in some cases, but just like in a studio, you won't be really using lights that are shaped as a sphere. And the dome light is what we use to work with HDR, so we are going to go over it later on. So let's stick to the plane, okay? And right now the size of the plane, of course, changed because I changed the radius of the sphere. And I'm going to put right now my plane vertical because I want to show you, something. So now, as you can see, the light is not really lighting here in the back, but if I go to my options, I can make it a double-sided light. Then I have light in both sides. I can also make my light invisible. Okay, and then I don't see it anymore. I'm gonna take out the double-sided. Again, I'm gonna take out the invisible for a moment, and so that I can show you two other options. So right now we have a decay, and usually the decay is inverse square. Okay, and that's why I see this fall off here. In other softwares, you can actually control the fall off, but this is pretty physically accurate, so I rather just leave it that way. And we have a fall off that assumes that there's nothing blocking the light here. Okay, but if I go to my if I go here to this tab that says rectangle disk light, I can work with a directional. Okay, and so this would be kind of like the flaps that you have next to a light source in a studio. So if I make it higher, you see how my light suddenly is completely sharp. That's in 1. Here is a little bit more soft. So if I would like a really, really sharp light, I would probably just put it a lot higher. And if I want something a lot softer, then I just go back to 0. Okay, but the logic is the larger my light source is going to be more diffuse, but you can also arrange that with your flash in a studio. So this is a way that you would do it here. Of course, if I make my light source smaller, it's also going to be sharper. Okay, another option we have here is the no decay. I'm actually going to make my plane a lot smaller, and I'm gonna hit a no decay. So usually we would use this no decay to imitate the light source from the sun, for example. So this is what you have in other cases called as directional light. Okay, and in the light sun, most of the cases when we have a light that is called sun or Vray sun or whatever, it behaves more like a directional light or something with no decay. In the case of the sky portal, that we are going to learn when we do the interior scene, because the sky portal option just works if I have another light source that has to be the sun, of course, or that we told that is the sun. And then if we use the sky portal, that's going to multiply our sun. So if I click right now on it, it's actually going to go dark. So among the other characteristics that we have here, we also have, I'm actually going to put it in invisible because I usually have it in invisible. Okay, and you can control the temperature of it by just changing the color. And I would actually recommend to change it by the temperature, because if you actually know the Kelvin values, then it's a lot easier. So the higher it is, the more bluish it is going to be. So let's say if I go to 9,000, it's going to be really bluish. And if I go already in 5,000, it's going to be quite yellowish. Okay, don't confuse Kelvin with lumen, which is about intensity. So this is about it for the basic options of the light. And we are going to go over all the other options when we go over each setup of the light.